Ever heard of the term ouroboros, an ancient symbol depicting a serpent or a dragon eating its own tail? Now, this symbol is often interpreted as representing cyclicity, unity, or infinity. So why is this very important for us to know before we start this discussion? I'll get to that in a sec, but first, metaphorically speaking, the act of the serpent consuming itself can be interpreted in various ways. One interpretation is that it represents the idea of self-destruction or self-sabotage. By consuming itself, the serpent perpetuates a cycle of destruction, unable to break free from its own repetitive patterns. This concept can be applied to human behavior and societal phenomena, where individuals or systems engage in actions that ultimately lead to their own downfall. Now for the big review question. Could palm colors be calling this upon themselves when they engage in racial discriminatory behavior? Because they may think that they are performing dominance towards marginalized groups through the same act, but in fact, they are sabotaging themselves. Just take a look at this video for a minute.
I think about all these white Christian people, or not Christian, just white folks worshiping Trump, following him straight into the path of hell. And I think about Trump. And Trump don't give a fuck about those people. He don't give about nobody except for Trump. He's exploiting white people. He's exploiting whitecy. He is exploiting Christianity. He is exploiting white people's biggest weakness, white supremacy. That's where we're vulnerable because we're not in reality, folks. We've always been in a cult. Since our first judge, since our first enslavement, Jim Crow, all the lynchings we did, we're psychotic in that we have bought into the hierarchy, the lies of white supremacy. We're not rational. And that greed and that need for power and all that training and indoctrination that white people have to maintain on top, Trump has exploited out of them. Trump don't give a fuck about these white people, about these country He don't give a none of y'all, man. He don't care about God. He don't care about Christianity. Trump himself. He is a cult leader, and America has always been a cult, and now they found their leader. And that's why they don't give a what he does. He can't do wrong because we have always been in a cult. We've just been waiting for that right leader to come along and to say the right things. All cult leaders wind up turning on their followers and as long as he can use them and as long as he needs them, he will serve them. But when he doesn't need them anymore, that's it. He'll be done with them and to throw them to the fire. But, and it's sad and it's sick that people can't see that. But that's what happens when you buy into the lies of white supremacy. You're vulnerable. And that's what happens when you care more about Christian power than you do Jesus in the Bible. And that's what Christianity's been used for. White power. White nationalism, whitey, and Christianity have always worked hand in hand in order to commit genocide, to enslave, and to maintain and empower white supremacy. It always has been, and that's a fact. And these MAGA Republicans, they don't even care about truth. They don't care about facts. They don't care about statistics. They don't care about data. They don't care about nothing except for their agenda of power. And they walk around talking about, the Mexicans gonna get our goddamn jobs, man. The Biden gonna let them come over here and take everything from us. Ain't nobody taking from you, man. The only thing that Mexicans have ever done, Hispanic people have ever done, is add to our economy. They don't take away. It's a lie. And Trump's exploiting enough for you guys, man. He got you scared of black people, scared of brown people, scared of Muslims. Oh, they're going to take over the goddamn country. The truth is, you're worried about losing a little bit of privilege. You're worried about losing a little bit of power, but you're not going to lose shit. It's already set up in our government. Everything caters to white people, sadly. Racial disparities in every American institution. And you're thinking that brown and black people and Muslims are going to hurt you somehow because you're an ignorant white supremacist bought into all kinds of stereotypes. And Trump is exploiting that out of you. That's why he's always saying, we got to control our borders. There's a threat. Scaring out of you ignorant motherfuckers. He don't give about y'all. He don't give about white supremacy. He don't give about Christianity. Do you think that dirty self-servant is a Christian? Most immoral president we have ever had in office. There's never been a more immoral con artist in office. And all these so-called Christians just turn a blind eye to it. We support Trump because he wants to give us power again. He wants to turn America into a theocracy. And I'm a Christian nationalist. All Christian nationalist means is you care about political power. You don't care about the Bible. You don't care about Jesus. Every one of you Marjorie Taylor Greene motherfuckers, y'all don't give a fuck nobody except for your own selfish agendas. It's never been about Jesus. White supremacy has never been about God. It's been about the white man. And you Christian white nationalists are full of it. And Trump knows it. He knows he's exploiting enough out of y'all, man. And you're allowing him. And this is the path we're going down because white supremacy, God is here. This is at a turning point for America. This is it, folks. We're at the finish line. I'm telling you, white supremacy has brought us to this point where that this cult leader has found their cult and the cult has found their cult leader. All that narcissism has matched up perfectly. All that delusional bull are vulnerable, man, because you're not in reality. You're into a racial ideology hierarchy that has got you so up that you would follow this man into the pit of hells. All because you're obsessed with your own goddamn white power and your own goddamn Christian power. This has nothing to do with anything other than that. And Trump knows it. And that's why he's always talking about, oh, we gotta keep the brown people out, and la-di-di and la-di-di. No DEI, no diversity, equity, inclusion. He wants to destroy racial justice because that serves him. He keeps his followers. As long as he keeps a narrative going of stereotypes and controlling and supporting white supremacy, folks, they will follow him. And he will burn you guys as soon as he doesn't need you. Every single last one of you. Like all cult leaders do. He is Jim Jones, folks. Except for he won't commit suicide. Y'all will. And all you people, all you patriots out there, so-called patriots, you love America and you got the American flag, but you'll follow this devil who doesn't give a fuck about the Constitution, doesn't give a fuck about our democracy, only cares about himself, only cares about his agenda, who already had an insurrection, who's playing the January 6th national anthem now instead of the American anthem, and you call yourself a patriot and you still support this evil, a goddamn fool. And if you vote for him and if he wins, it will be your fault that we will lose our democracy, lose our Constitution, potentially, and America could lose everything that we're about. I don't like Biden either, but at least he's not a dictator fascist. I hate for what he's supporting Israel and our government for supporting Israel. I hate him for that. But I'll be God if I'm going to let the Constitution and democracy be destroyed because of this crazy fuck who's a wannabe, a dangerous, already calling for a bloodbath if he loses, a political, violent, dangerous, wannabe dictator fascist, extremely dangerous man, because he only cares about self. Trump cares about me. So the choice is yours, you ignorant MAGA Republican. You're going to let white supremacy destroy our country, or we're going to keep going in some sort of democracy. The choice is y'all's.
So it's possible that the Trump train can be using a self-sabotaging formula to get into power. Now let us have a discussion about how the palm color internalized biases can be used against them. Microaggressions, defined as subtle, often unintentional actions or comments that convey derogatory messages towards marginalized groups, serve as pervasive agents of oppression. Rooted in deeply ingrained stereotypes and biases, these microaggressions permit everyday interactions, perpetuating systemic inequality and disenfranchisement. And that's the whole agenda of it all, is the whole perception of not a feeling but a perception of I am more valuable or I am more privileged and I should be entitled to all these things because I am palm colored, and you, based on your color, you shouldn't be entitled to these things. So it's a sort of devaluing concept that palm coloreds have in their perception and pretty much feels right to them. The weaponization of microaggressions. One of the most insidious aspects of microaggressions is their susceptibility to manipulation by those seeking power. Political leaders, cognizant of the prevailing racial tensions and societal divisions, exploit these microaggressions to consolidate their influence and advance their agendas. By tapping into pre-existing prejudices and biases, they craft narratives that resonate with certain segments of the population. Now, this sort of reminds me of Drake. But since we are all tired of talking about Drake by now, let me just say it reminds me of the culture voucher situation. But Drake is coming to mind because of the records he's broken and the wealth he has amassed because of cultural appropriation. So is the perfect narrative fitting the description of how you can study a particular group of people, even if you don't come from them, but because you understand what resonates better with them, people feel obliged and as if they ought to give you their time, their money, and their energy resource. 80 billion streams, only 2 billion streams to reach 100 billions, the first guy to have ever done it. And he couldn't have done it with the help of a little bit of some cultural appropriation. But we can't sideline his achievements because through purposeful action, he put in the work and studied the culture that resonated better with the world and reaped what he sowed, I guess. Manipulating palm color privilege. As a palm color individual, this man perhaps is acutely aware of the privilege afforded to him by virtue of his race. However, he also recognizes the potential for this privilege to be weaponized against him and his fellow palm colors. Political leaders adept at exploiting racial dynamics capitalize on palm color fragility and fear of loss of status, employing divisive rhetoric that scapegoats marginalized communities and strokes resentment among palm color populations. By framing issues such as immigration, affirmative action, and social welfare programs through a lens of racial animosity, they incite a sense of victimhood and mobilize palm color voters under the guise of protecting their interests. The role of toxic narratives. Central to the weaponization of microaggressions is the propagation of toxic narratives that reinforce existing power structures and perpetuate oppression. These narratives, deeply embedded within societal consciousness, serve to justify inequality and uphold systems of privilege. By framing racial discrimination as a natural consequence of meritocracy or cultural inferiority, political leaders obscure the true roots of systemic injustice, effectively diverting attention from structural reforms towards divisive rhetoric and discriminatory policies. And I guess that's a summary of how political leaders in the palm color community can use the ingrained biases in themselves to rule the masses. But it's not just political leaders, such as in the case of Drake. It's anybody that has the ability of seeing what encapsulates people's realities. You know, everybody has got their own bubble, and palm colored bubbles are pretty much racially based. So a palm colored leader or political leader is able to identify those and come up with triggering messages that can make them rally behind him and vote for him. Another good example is religion. Religion, often heralded as a source of spiritual guidance and moral fortitude, has a dark underbelly characterized by manipulation and oppression. Christianity in particular is not immune to this scrutiny, as its origins and historical manifestations review a narrative fraught with exploitation and domination. The distorted origins of Christianity. Contrary to popular belief, Christianity did not emerge fully from the teachings of Jesus Christ. Instead, it evolved over centuries, shaped by political agendas, cultural influences, and power struggles within the early Christian community. The Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, convened by Emperor Constantine, marked a pivotal moment in the consolidation of Christian doctrine, where theological disputes were settled to serve the interests of the Roman Empire. And I guess we can say the Roman Empire saw an opportunity to assert dominion through what resonated with people better. People wanted a religion, they wanted guidance, and above all, they wanted a messiah. This synthesis of religious beliefs and imperial authority laid the groundwork for the institutionalization of Christianity as a state-sanctioned religion, perpetuating a narrative of divine right and earthly dominion. The colonization of African countries provides a stark example of how Christianity has been wielded as a tool of oppression and cultural hegemony. European powers, driven by a mission to civilize and evangelize heathen lands, imposed Christianity upon indigenous populations under the guise of salvation and enlightenment. But the most important thing to take note in this section of Christianity is how they were able to manipulate the masses into giving their own power to the palm coloreds or the colonizers. You know, it's that thing where you see somebody with a resonating message to you and you're just driven to give everything that you have, while in the process you are losing everything at the same time. It also reminds me of how mega churches collect tithe and offering by creating resonating messages with the people. They'll tell them things like, you will be more empowered, just give that coin, give that money, and people will give thousands because the message in the moment, it's resonating with them. This is how people are able able to give away their power. We see this all the time. So if Christianity or religion can be manipulated, then daily interactions such as political gatherings can also be manipulated to be able to resonate with our problems. And it's always about the problems, it's always about the people that are suffering, but not in the sense of a literal suffering. It is an internalized narrative of something missing. That hole inside of you has to be filled with desiring messages or words. And sometimes it's not even something intangible, but it's something tangible such as a substance. You feel empty inside of you, and because of peer pressure, a friend manipulates you into indulging into the partaking of a certain harmful substance. It's the same narrative or principle here. Because of an internalized oppression, you find yourself biting your own tail, which takes us back to the ouroboros. And this is the concept of the serpent swallowing its own tail to infinity, not knowing that it's stuck in a loop of self-sabotage. And nobody really knows how it all started, but perhaps we can speculate because of the feeling of its emptiness in the stomach. It indulged in swallowing its own tail, trying to fill the emptiness inside of itself.